Okay. Topics in protection.
Um, so then we have hand gestures. So lots of them. We have the sign of the horns, which is like your typical like, yeah, that's so funny. Yeah. Which is used in like Mediterranean traditions a lot to ward
Uh-huh.
off like the evil eye, hostile spirits, things like that. Then we have the fig hand, which is like the ASL letter T. It looks like this. And yeah, so this is for like again ancient protective gesture. Again, these are all just generally the same thing. They're just like general protective gestures. Then we have the cross. It could be the cross or like an X, either way, but you usually would do this over something, like over an object, over a person, over a doorway, to seal or blind like a blessing. You can do hand over the heart, which is like a grounding and warding gesture. So you're supposed to be like sealing your energy, you're reclaiming your own stuff. Um, then you can do the cutting gesture, right? Like, which is funny because the ASL gesture for never, I think, is like this. So
Ah,
it's kind of like similar, yeah. But this is essentially like paired with breath work, which we'll talk about next. And then we have the raised palm, which we talked about earlier, right? With the like eyeball where you're just like stop. Like you that's
yes.
just like stopping things, pushing things away.
Nice.
Then we have the hand covering gesture. So putting your hand over one eye or both eyes, which is like to break the power of an ill gaze. You're like cutting off this like hypnotism type of thing. Hands forming a triangle, so used in a lot of traditions for like protecting, touching an amulet, obviously, or like hand fan gesture, which is like this, like you're
Ah,
sweeping. So
nice.
you like flick something away if something is like bad and you don't want it. Then we have knocking, tapping, sound-based things. So knocking on wood, very traditional method to like invoke protection or like to stop something from happening, right? Like you're like stopping unwanted attention, right? If we talk about, oh, I don't know, I've never blah blah blah, and then you like knock on wood, you're like diverting that attention. You're like, I don't want to bring attention to that. Then we have like the three knocks, which can be on anything, doesn't have to be on wood, but three knocks is like to drive something away or to break something. Foot stomping is used to like as dominance, right? Think like an animal who stomps its foot.
Love that.
Rabbits do
Just stop
this,
my foot.
right? Yeah. They're like asserting dominance and things like that. And then bell ringing, which is like associated with the sound, which we've talked about before. It doesn't
Yes.
have to be bells, it could be chimes, it could be anything, but we've talked about bells before. Then we have breath and like spoken gestures. So blowing something can like activate some type of like protection potentially, especially blowing three times. And then spitting. Now you can actually spit, or you can do symbolic spitting, like or or something.
So
It's like
in
to
folk Jewish traditions, they do that too.
yeah, yeah.
They like my dad said his mother used to always do that. She used to always like
That's so
I
funny. Yeah, so it's like to avert the evil eye or to like it's kind of like knocking on wood too, right? It's like to like you say something and then you're like, ooh, I don't want to manifest that
yeah.
or like bring it into being. And then like whispering, which we've kind of talked about before, but like just some type of soft spoken like charm. Then we have body position and movement. So turning in a circle. Now we've talked about like the direction before, right? If you associate with the direction, we don't really, I don't think you do either. But if you
No,
do, turning in a
no.
specific direction, um, stepping over thresholds, like stepping into a home, typically
Mm,
you want to do the right foot first, which is
okay.
protective. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Interesting.
That's
Did
pretty
not know
cool.
that.
Yeah. And then crossing limbs, so like crossing your fingers, right, is like protection. You're again, just like we've been talking about, like you don't want to bring attention. So if you say something and then you like can cross your fingers instead of knocking on wood because you're trying
Ah,
to like
yeah.
yeah, like push that away. And then touching the ground. So putting your
Oh,
fingertips like on the earth or the floor if you're inside, which is like dismissing the negativity.
nice.
Yeah, I like that one actually. Then we have object involved gestures, so brushing off, right? You're literally, you're not just like mimicking the brushing, but you're like having something and you're brushing it off to remove anything that's kind of negative. Placing a hand on a door frame when you're leaving or entering a space. Also can call upon the threshold like guardians, which we've talked about. And snapping your fingers is to like reset something, like you want to clear the air, start over. I've also seen that in some cultures where they'll like somebody will, people will talk about like a really heavy topic, and then when they're ready to move on, they kind of like snap to like clear the space.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Yeah, pretty cool. I like that.